Y'all heard what Todd said about black folks after being pardoned by Trump? Listen.
This is a long shot because so many people are told no. And being in the prison system, anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not. Because I dealt with young African-American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that, but we know why I wasn't denied that. And so I think that that is a much bigger picture that we all as a society as a whole need to look at, that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best.
This does not warrant an invite to the cookout. Because like my granny and them always said, you're not finna get rewarded for doing some shit you supposed to do. He supposed to acknowledge the inequalities in the system. Just think about it. How many folks look like us you think locked up for the same exact thing he was, but they waiting on commissary and a release date? We only represent about 14% of the general population. Our community represents 38% of the federal prison population. They both got pardoned, and I hope that when they rubbing shoulders with them Trump supporters, they're able to keep in mind that no matter how much them folks engaged in color blindness, they seen the racial inequality for themselves. But maggots always love to ask, can you name anything that I can do as a white person that you can't do as a black person? Shit, ask Todd. I'm going to start saying that from now on. Education is elevation.
I finally watched the entire Todd Chrisley press conference, right? Talked about a lot of things. He talked about his experiences. They asked him questions, yada, 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 right? There was just one or two parts that kind of tickled me, right? So we all know Trump pardoned him, right? They got to talking about how he felt about the charges and if Todd would do anything different, than what happened before. He proceeds to say, in which I believe him because I read the case and I understand what happened, he said he wouldn't do anything different because he didn't do anything wrong. Yada, yada, yada. He goes into talking about how the Biden administration is at fault. And can't no one tell me that that was a part of the pardon deal. You have to blame Biden for everything, right? Right. And I know Trump is pissed. And then he goes on to talk about how different he was treated in prison than the African-American males that he met in jail. Savannah Chrisley did what she had to do to get her family out of jail. And I'm just saying, she did a damn good job.
Well, it looks like the jig is up. Trump has been exposed, finally. I'm very disappointed because I never believed.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing super great, super fine from wherever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter Stories, and I'm thinking and hoping that you are doing great. Now there's something that I feel like we need to discuss, and this is about this white man that comes out from the jail and talks about the treatment and the segregation that has been inside the jail. It's called Todd Chrisley, and it speaks of the inequality of African American men in prison systems. They were denied access to certain things that some white folks were given. And this discusses the broader perspective about the treatment of black people and white people, especially inside these jails. Now, I want to discuss more about this phenomenon. And as you know, I'm your host and presenter Stories. I do in exploration of these factors that are affecting diasporans. The phenomenon of white individuals coming to recognize systemic racial inequality, particularly through first-hand experiences such as incarceration. This offers a compelling lens into how structural racism operates and how proximity to marginalized groups can alter entrenchment perspectives. When a white man enters, when a white man enters into the U.S. prison system, an environment where black and brown individuals are disproportionately represented and mistreated, this serves as a jarring revelation that contradicts the narrative of a just and a colorblind society. Now, his letter confessions acknowledging the disparities he observed underscores how awareness of racial injustice often requires direct exposure, especially for those who have previously been shielded by the privilege. So when a person tells you like there is nothing like a white privilege, let them watch this video. I'm your host and presenter Jindok Stories. Buckle up for this video. If you're watching us for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get so we can offer you. I'm really sweaty inside here, but I have to do this. If I just open the window or open the AC, it will produce a certain noise that I don't want to make this video so uncomfortable. So let's watch the video. I'll be back and I'll be sharing my thoughts through a presentation that I prepared for us to, have a glimpse of what this gentleman is talking to. Now let's watch the video. I'll be back.
That it was true. But he's a racist. Why? Because he pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley. See, the media says that the reason he pardoned them is because, number one, they're white. Number two, they're famous. And number three, their daughter is a big fan of theirs and gave a lot of money to the Trump campaign. Now, don't blame me. I'm just telling you what the media said. However, it's bullshit. See, he not only pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley, he pardoned notorious Chicago gangster Larry Hoover, who's been in jail for about 50 years or more. He also pardoned rapper NBA Youngboy, who happens to be black. So, he pardoned Todd and Julie. They're white. He pardoned Larry and NBA. They're black. Don't seem too racist to me. But it's typical. If you listen to the media, that's surely what you will believe. However, the main reason he pardoned any of them is because of Alice Marie Johnson, the black woman, by the way, who he pardoned in his first term because she had been wrongly convicted and had served quite a bit of time in jail. Alice has been looking at the cases, and she's looked at a lot of cases. And what Trump is doing is he's tasked Alice to look at the cases and look at people who have been overcharged and who is spending way too much time in jail for the crimes that they have committed. Welcome home, Todd and Julie and NBA. I don't think NBA was in jail anyway, though. But as for Larry, I don't think Larry will be going free because Larry still has a 200-year sentence in Illinois. And it's a state charge, and it's probably not going to go away. So yes, Larry will be moved probably from federal prison to state prison. And he'll probably spend the rest of his life in jail. However, Trump pardoned him federally. Boy, when you listen to the news, you just never know what lies you're going to get from day after day after day. It just never ceases to amaze me. But, hey.
Now let's address the recent pardon party. First of all, we're not dumb. We see what you're doing. You letting out anybody who you think is a heavy hitter with the communities of color because that's who you want to support you. You want everybody in America pushing your agenda, not just yours. You're bored with your own community. So you're doing whatever you can, grasping for straws, trying to figure out how you can win over the vote of color, the support of color. Let me tell you something. There are so many other things you could pardon. Pardon some of these grocery prices. Pardon some of these student loans. Just name a few. Pardon these tariffs, this mess you got going on with that. Why don't you pardon some of that? Now, I ain't dissing, Todd Chrisley, them. That's tax fraud and evasion. You said your friend Larry Hoover, and then you labeled him a Chicano gang member, leader. What? Larry Hoover is Black American. Larry Hoover is not a Chicano gang leader. You need to check Fox News and their outlets labeling that. Y'all just throw whatever up there. Y'all are so out of touch with communities of color. You think Chicano means Black American. Lord have mercy, I can't get no help in here. Anyway, this recent pardon party, we see what you're doing. We not dumb. Could you focus on some stuff that actually matters? And I find it very funny that the whole campaign was about, you know, the other one he was running up against. Okay, she's just gonna free all the criminals and that's what she wants to do. She just wants to give. That's what you doing though. That's that game that Republicans play. They will say, hey, don't vote for the Democrat. They just want to free the criminals. Then you wind up doing it. Basically, you saying it's okay if you do it, but if somebody else does it, it's a problem because they're of color. Please get out of my face with this.
And I know Trump was not expecting Todd Chrisley to get up there and talk about the judicial system and how African Americans are not being treated fairly. Kudos to him. Round of applause, because that's what literally having a voice and having privilege, that's what people are literally supposed to do. And it's like, yes, it may not make a drastic change right now, but talking up matters. Using your platform, using the fact that you have privilege to highlight what the hell is going on. Like, he's only been out about 24 hours now and he's making sure he's getting to what needs to be said, okay? He ain't sugarcoating, and I'm sure Mr. President did not expect him to come. I'm sure he's looking now like, how can I take that pardon back? Because that's not what you're supposed to be highlighting. He wants you to be highlighting the, you know what, his little slogan that he be saying. But no, he's getting up there and talking about how in the judicial system that African Americans are not getting the same privileges or not getting the same resources that are in the jail system, in the prisons, and that that's something that needs to be talked about. Because when African Americans come out and they say it, it's just like, boo-hoo, so what? And now someone else is getting up and using a platform to make sure what needs to be said is said.
Pardon the Chrisleys. The Chrisleys. Y'all remember the Chrisleys? They had that whole reality TV show. They like was real estate people or what have you. And then they got convicted of tax fraud. Millions upon millions of dollars. Your commander-in-chief just pardoned them. Why? Why? Explain. I need a reason. I want y'all MAGA supporters to come in my comments and give me a valid reason. I don't want to hear nothing about this America. I don't want to hear nothing about because he can. I want to hear a valid reason. Even Exotic Joe Exotic is questioning. He's like, I'm the Lion King, for crying out loud. Why didn't you pardon me? Wait. He said, I guess being innocent is not enough in America. They all admitted to perjury on world television, but yet I'm left to die of cancer before I can get any help. Why is it the entire world can see the evidence, but the White House refuses to acknowledge that they did this to me, knowing that they were lying? He is pissed off. I'm sorry. The cancer part is not funny, okay? Let's be clear, because y'all always try to drag people in the comments. But Joe Exotic is very upset that Todd and Julie Chrisley got a full pardon from his president, okay? Now, tell me what you guys think about this. Did they need to have a full, I don't know, but supporters, give me your valid reasoning. And everybody else, just tell me what you think. Was this needed? I don't think it was. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't think it was. But, like, share, comment, okay? All right, bye.
Now that the ink has dried up and he is out, Todd Chrisley then talks about how black men do not have the privilege he's had in prison.
Being in the prison system, anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not. Because I dealt with young African-American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that, but we know why I wasn't denied that. And so I think that that is a much bigger picture that we all as a society as a whole need to look at, that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best. This is a long shot.
Now, I do not think Trump thought that this was going to be the conversation he was going to have when he left. But that's why I said the ink dried up. But this is how you use your platform. Let's get to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? You got privilege. You was able to get out while people are still in there and can't get the benefits that you had in prison. As far as programs and bettering themselves, by the time they get out, they'll have a chance to do something else with their life. He ain't waste no time, and this is what I want to see. Y'all follow that YouTube. Bye, y'all.
Chrisley's give conservative, but they don't give like MAGA, you know? And I feel like what really changed it from like going all the way to MAGA was that half-black granddaughter. What's her name, Chloe? If you watch the show, you know that one person who they do not play about at all. Like, keep in mind, Todd don't care about his two oldest kids, but he cares about that grandbaby. Like, he do not play about her. That's basically his sixth child. The funny thing about Savannah was, to me, it was always clear that she was doing MAGA stuff to get her parents out of jail. She never gave MAGA to me. I don't know, it just felt super like inauthentic. And I remember like seeing reels of her with the little MAGA hat. First of all, she would not let that MAGA hat go. I bet she had like 10 MAGA hats in her closet. And you know what? If my parents were in jail, even though they're kind of guilty, I might have done some MAGA stuff too to get my parents out of jail, you know? Because one thing about the Chrisleys, they don't play about family, except for the oldest two, okay? The Chrisleys are guilty, especially Todd, y'all. I am so sorry. I'm always like, I didn't do it. We know you did it, and we know that Todd's life is very messy. Alleged gay lover, he had an affair on his first wife, that's how he got the second wife. Rod just like fits in perfectly with that, you know? Like, I think it makes sense. And when I was watching the show, it never made sense to me how we got all that money. Did we ever get any answers to that? Some people are already saying that Savannah's trying to like remove the MAGA stuff from her Instagram page. I haven't checked, so I don't know if that's true or not. But what really gagged me was right after Todd left jail, he was talking about how African American men are not receiving the same treatment as white men in jail. What? That gagged me the most, because I thought we were going to, you know, continue this MAGA for a few more years and then maybe, you know, start becoming woke. But no, they were like woke out of the gate. What? One of the funniest things that come out of this situation is that I didn't know so many black people watched the Chrisleys. Like, I thought I was a minority in this, but like on TikTok, it looked like everybody who's talking about it is black. And I feel like Todd low-key went over a bunch of black people with what he said. Because my thing is, I just already programmed them as being, you know, like, you know, MAGA, whatever, move on. But he's like, actually, black people deserve to be treated better in jail. What? Like, Todd, what?
Now that the ink has dried up and he is out, Todd Chrisley then talks about how black men do not have the privilege he's had in prison.
Being in the prison system, anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not. Because I dealt with young African-American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that, but we know why I wasn't denied that. And so I think that that is a much bigger picture that we all as a society as a whole need to look at, that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best. This is a long shot.
Now, I do not think Trump thought that this was going to be the conversation he was going to have when he left. But that's why I said the ink dried up. But this is how you use your platform. Let's get to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? You got privilege. You was able to get out while people are still in there and can't get the benefits that you had in prison. As far as programs and bettering themselves, by the time they get out, they'll have a chance to do something else with their life. He ain't waste no time, and this is what I want to see. Y'all follow that YouTube. Bye, y'all.
I see some of y'all having the conversation about Todd Chrisley's pardon speech when it comes to us being discriminated or treated unfairly while we're locked up. And to be honest, number one, we have to be honest on this part. Some people is going to hear it that wouldn't hear it any other way. Is it going to make a difference? Who knows? What I am going to say is the reason why Todd could speak on this is because he was locked in. It's because he had no other choice but to see it. I say that to say this. I've said it before. Some of us won't be so heartless towards black people, brown people, Hispanic people, people, I'm not going to say, y'all know them other people. I'm not going to say, because deep down, y'all good. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. Y'all good. Y'all don't have nothing. Let me get back. The point I'm trying to make is sometimes too many people make judgment call or hate off of people only because misinformation, only because of TV, social media, or you grew up and your mama said that these people is no good. We won't be so cheering and heartless towards other things that other races going through if we was to see really what they come from, what they're going through, how they really live. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to cut it off because I'm getting in trouble.
So Todd Chrisley gave a press conference yesterday. His first press conference, his first interview, whatever have you, since being pardoned and released from prison. During the press conference, Todd Chrisley stated that he was granted access to things in prison that blacks were denied access to. Well, Todd, I tell you what, imagine you being locked up in prison, and us being out here free, law-abiding black folks, right? And we are denied access to fair housing, fair health care, fair employment, etc. And we haven't broken any laws. And the folks that are inside of a prison, they are denied access to things that they should be granted access to. But Todd, you ain't telling us nothing that we don't deal with on an everyday basis, man, because we dealing with it out here. I'm glad you got to see it for yourself in there, but we deal with it twice as much on the other side of those walls, and we haven't broken any laws. So when you go down there to your visit on Pennsylvania Avenue, maybe you should tell the person that's in charge about how your experience was. Because in there, you experienced that, we're experiencing it twice as much. And we haven't broken any laws. We're law-abiding citizens, and we deal with stuff on a daily basis.
I never get on here and talk about anything controversial, but I'm going to right now. I need to know, what does everybody think about the Chrisleys? I'm not going to lie. I am so pumped. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Me and my daughter, I sent her the message and was like, are the Chrisleys really getting out? Did they get pardoned? Because I'm excited for them. I love Todd and Julie Chrisley. I can't help it. Savannah and Grayson and Chloe and that dang grandma. I don't feel like they did anything that maybe a lot of very wealthy people don't do. I don't know. I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you. I have no idea. I know it was tax evasion, but I find it very hard to believe that they raised taxes any more than a lot of those other wealthy people do. But who am I? I don't know. I don't make enough money that, trust me, the tax people aren't coming after me ever as a school teacher. If anything, they'll just feel sorry for me. Maybe they'll give me some, I don't know. But how do y'all feel about the Chrisleys? Tell me. I want to know. Now, I love them, and it's okay if you don't, because, I mean, I'm not like going to argue or anything like that. I really do want to know what people are thinking. Are you loving that the Chrisleys are getting out, or do you think it's wrong? Tell me about it. I want to know how you feel about the Chrisleys.
Major news, President Trump just granted a full pardon to Todd and Julie Chrisley. And as expected, liberals are already trying to twist it into some race issue. But let's get real about what this is actually about. Todd and Julie were convicted of financial crimes and sentenced to over a decade combined. But many question the fairness of the case, the sentencing, and whether the system went too far, something we've seen in other cases too. Here's what the president had to say.
It's a great thing because your parents are going to be free and clean, and I hope we can do it by tomorrow. Is that okay? We'll try getting it done tomorrow.
See, President Trump's pardon isn't about privilege. It's about principle. This is the same man who pardoned people of all races, from Alex Johnson to Jack Johnson to Rod Blagojevich to Kodak Black. If you earned a second chance, he gave it to you. But now the left wants to pretend this is some kind of racial injustice. Please. Trump record proves he doesn't care about your skin color. He cares about justice. This was the right move. Good for the Chrisley family and into the race-baiting crowd. Facts don't care about your opinions or your narrative. Truth wins every time. Love wins. A family has been restored.
First of all, TikTok, let me say this shit for entertainment purposes only because I got a feeling that y'all will try to find some reason to hit me with some guidelines. Second of all, y'all know I just left a Saturday Doge meeting, right? And I got to put a W. I want y'all to put some W's in the chat for Todd Chrisley. Because Todd Chrisley has put the spotlight on systematic racism. Something that a lot of people have denied for so long. A lot of people said racism is not systematic. I have always believed racism was systematic. But Todd Chrisley is putting the spotlight on systematic racism through his experience through the damn prison system. Todd Chrisley said he watched as black and brown people were not exposed to certain opportunities and programs that he was. He said he watched them skip over black and brown people and brought him to certain programs that would probably help him get freed faster. He said he watched that the whole time he was in there. So I need y'all to put some W's in the chat for Todd Chrisley for putting the spotlight on systematic racism. See, I always have felt like that. See, a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people forget this word called prejudice. A lot of people get racism and being prejudiced mixed up. If a person don't like you because of your skin color, or if a person don't like you because of your hair, or whatever, if it's something like that, that's not called being racist. That's called being prejudiced. See, a lot of people have forgot that term, prejudiceness. They have forgot that, and everything has been associated to being racist. But I always have felt racism is systematic. I always have felt that. And Todd Chrisley has seen that for himself. A white man that would have never ever seen that, never put the spotlight on that, or never even experienced, but he went through it and he's seen it for himself with his own eyes. He's seen how they passed them and gave him the opportunities. So I gotta ask y'all to put some W's in the chat for my boy Todd Chrisley for doing that. Cause I really appreciate that, man. I really appreciate him using his voice to put that spotlight on systematic racism and make people aware, white people aware, other white people aware that racism can be systematic because so many people don't feel like that. Hey, y'all put some motherfucking W's in the chat for Todd Chrisley, man. Let's go.
Savannah, you wasn't expecting that, right? You wasn't expecting Todd to come out and say that, right? I know you somewhere sitting with that hat glued to your head because apparently they probably told you whenever you online, you need to wear that hat. White, red, whatever, you need to wear it. But I know you wasn't expecting your daddy to come out of jail saying that. Yeah. You thought he was going to do what you do. Yeah. I know.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing super great from wherever you're watching us from. I'm your host and presenter, as usually know, Eugene Stories. These are the things that we need to discuss, and I think it's really important if we have a talk about this. First of all, the US criminal justice system is one of the most racially unequal institutions in the country. Black Americans, who make up roughly 13% of the general population, represents nearly 40% of the incarcerated population. This overrepresentation is not coincidental. It is the result of decades of racial discriminatory policies, from the war on drugs to stop and frisk policing and mandatory minimum sentencing. For a white inmate who enters prison expecting fair treatment, witnessing the harsher conditions, more severe punishments, and daily humiliation that black inmates endure can be eye-opening. These experiences often challenge the illusion that justice is blind and impartial. Also, in prison, racial lines are starkly drawn and often violently enforced, not just by inmates, but by the institutions itself. Correctional officers may subject black inmates to stricter surveillance, harsher punishments, or verbal and physical abuse. Rehabilitation programs and privileges may be more accessible to white inmates, reinforcing racial hierarchy within the carceral spaces. A white prisoner who experiences the systems alongside black individuals but is treated with more leniency or respect may begin to understand the double standards that operate beneath the surface. These observations can provoke cognitive dissonance and spark moral reckoning, as you see what is happening to the brother. Also, many formerly incarcerated white individuals who speak out about these disparities, not so from a position of transformation, do so from a position of transformation. Now, they enter the system believing in personal responsibility and fairness, only to leave with a deeper understanding of structural racism. Some go on to become advocates for reform, using their voices to testify into justice they once denied or overlooked. Right. Also, what you need to understand is that their experiences should not overshadow those of black and brown people who have long borne the brunt of these systems and have led to resistance movement within. Also, this transformation also highlights the concept of proximity to suffering. The more physical and emotional proximate an individual is into justice, the harder it becomes to ignore or rationalize it. From white individuals raised in racial homogeneous or in insulated communities, systemic racism may seem abstract. These may seem abstract, right, or exaggerated, but in prisons where policies disproportionately harm black men and where survival often hinges on race, denial becomes increasingly difficult. The prison environment, its raw intensity, exposes the brutal mechanics of racial inequalities in a few other institutions do. Also, there's another thing that I need to discuss. Yes, it's important to contextualize the awakening within the broader social patterns. The fact that some white people recognize systemic racism when it affects them or when they witness it, it's close this raises question about empathy and solidarity. Why must suffering be experienced firsthand or to be believed? Black communities have written, spoken, protested, and bled to convey these realities. The white man's confession, while admirable, it is honestly reflects the societal tendency to center the white awakening as moments of truth rather than the lived experience of black communities. I'll intro this lastly. I don't want to say much about this. These individuals' testimonies can be double-edged. One hand, they validate the claims of systemic racism to be skeptical white audiences. On the other hand, they risk perpetuating a narrative that racism is only real when confirmed by white voices. It is crucial, therefore, that such confessions serves as amplifications, not replacements, of the voices that have always spoken out against injustice. True allyship requires humility and commitment to dismantle the very systems that uphold racial inequalities, not merely observing and reporting on them. I'm your host and presenter, Jinduk Stories. Let me know what you think about all these discussions. I'm hoping to see you on my next video. For those watching us for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. But until then, I'm hoping that you are safe and sound from wherever you're watching me from. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.